What's up, peeps? This week's podcast is sponsored by Sensi and consultant Jessica Bess. Blow out the wick and go wickless. That is a sick beat. Seriously. What is happening all? It is I, the Boozer, Patrick Booze, and welcome to the first podcast of Chillin with the Booze. Thanks for letting me into your ear holes wherever you are. This podcast is going to be a new avenue for not only for me, but for others as well. First thing I gotta say is thanks to Jessica Bess with Sensi, as she is this week's sponsor of the pod. And if you don't know about Sensi, you need to look them up and get with Jessica. Sensi has a lot of products for everyone, not just for adults. They have a kids line too, and you know, they have more than just waxes and warmers. Every month they release a new item, and they're always great gifts to give out no matter the occasion. You gotta check these guys out. So if you want to get hooked up with Sensi, then follow her on Facebook at Jessica Bess Independent Sensi Consultant, or on the Instagram JJ62286. Also right now, September scent of the month is the Mandarin Toffee Treat, and warmer of the month is the Jack-O-Lantern, and both are 10% off for the month of September. You know, that Jack-O-Lantern warmer, I've seen them, and they're pretty gorgeous. Bad pun, I know. Thanks, Beth, for feeding me that one. Okay, back to the pod for this week. This week's guest has Coach Matt Beechler. He's one of the many good coaches from the Northwest House Springs School District, and he's a volunteer. Yeah, he puts out so much effort and time into teaching kids the correct way to play the game of football, and he's getting them while they're young. And we get into many different topics, you know, his love for the game and our time at NHS, both playing football, and some of the similarities between him and some of our old coaches. You know, he kind of models himself after a few of our old coaches from back in the day. So, you know, sit back, chill with me and Beach for a little bit, and enjoy the first edition of Chillin' with the Booze. First off, what's like your obsession with the Chiefs, man? Like,
hey, I'm a Missouri guy. I'm a football fan, and since Rams moved out of St. Louis, I guess I figured why not be a Chiefs fan? It's better than the Patriots, man.
You know, I just knew you were gonna throw that in my face. Freaking that game, that shouldn't even have counted.
Shouldn't have counted. It was the first game of the season, man.
Still should have been a preseason game.
Well. Yeah, that's a Tom Brady fan.
Do not hate on Tom Brady. Greatest living quarterback ever.
The GOAT. Jesus. The GOAT.
Yes,
Come
the
on.
GOAT. Yes, the GOAT.
Okay, because he's going to be playing in a walker. Okay, I'll give you that.
He is going to be playing in a walker. He's going to play until he's 50, and he's going to have 10 championships.
Yeah, with Belichick. Because they cheat. They figure it out. They figure out a way to cheat. He can play in a walker. Apparently that's legal. They'll put NFL logos on it and sell advertising, I guess.
All right, let's get past this whole thing with the Chiefs and Patriots. Okay, real quick, you name your dog after the Chiefs, your love of the Chiefs?
I can't say I named my dog after the Chiefs. That was another fellow Chiefs fan that I ended up adopting him from. It was just pure fate, I guess. Because they knew who was the better team, I guess.
So like you said, you adopted the Chiefs, so they always haven't been your favorite team.
No, I was a Cowboys fan for a while, and then with the whole things with when the Rams moved out, I had to disown them.
Like everybody else, basically.
Pretty much.
I did the same thing, but I was a New England fan before they even came here, so yeah.
Yeah, living in Kansas City for 3 years, I guess, made me more of a KC fan.
Next to my cousins.
Yeah, next to your cousins. That was one of those small world things.
That was the trippiest thing ever. For those that don't know, those that are just now that didn't get a chance to listen to the introduction, we're here with Coach Beechler, Northwest Junior Lions coach. How many years have you been doing this now?
This is be my 4th year coaching, 3rd year as a head coach. So learning on the fly a lot.
Learning on the fly? You learn from anybody else? Like get any pointers from any of the other coaches?
I've gotten some pointers over the last few years from some of my former coaches, some of what I consider mentors and guys I completely, respect and listen to everything they have to say, and I modeled myself after.
Which coaches? Because we had a lot of the same coaches when we were playing.
A lot of it's been Bob Fisher. It was a guy, he was one of the guys I had the utmost respect for, and also his brother Steve. He was one of the meanest coaches I've ever had, but he's also the person I model myself after a lot. So
no meaner coach than Redfish. God love him, but he was just one of the downright evilest coaches that I remember having.
But he was successful at it. He made you a winner.
For anybody from Northwest that are listening, you would definitely agree to that, guaranteed. But what did Bowfish teach you, though? Like, other than probably screaming at halftime, because I remember that was one of his favorite things to do. Not to bash Bowfish or anything like that, but God love him. That was one of the things I remember most about dealing with or being coached by Bob Fisher, was that his famous halftime rants. No matter what game we were in, it was always, he comes in screaming his head off about whatever happened, whoever messed up, and just going off for about 5-6 minutes and then coming back all calm.
Well, that was because we lost a lot. That was part of the problem. But he's a guy that, he could yell at you, but you respected him for it. Like, there's two different types of coaches, and I've had this conversation with parents here lately. That there's coaches that will yell just to yell, but then there's coaches that yell, but it's constructive, and the kids look up to it. Sometimes you yell too far, and the kids just like tune it out. They don't want to listen to it. Luckily, I've apparently found a pretty good balance where I can yell and be mean as all get out, and then 2 minutes later, I'm their best friend, and they want to play for me.
So you found that happy medium between yelling and actually talking to them.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really thought I was a real good people person. I always say I generally hate people, but kids seem to really enjoy playing for me. So
I'm sure your wife would attest to that.
Yeah, she don't like me most of the time either.
Oh, I don't remember Victoria liking much of anybody anyways when we were in high school, but hey, that's another conversation for later. You were saying, though, about your relationship with the parents. Is that like one of the hardest things you have to deal with as a coach, is not just coaching the kids, but also dealing with the parents? Like, you get those parents that'll say, oh, you didn't play my kid long enough today, or something along those lines.
You're always going to have that, especially coaching Little League sports. It's going to be, you didn't play him enough. Johnny didn't play the position. They think he should be the star quarterback. Well, Johnny doesn't pay attention in practice. Johnny's off picking flowers, or he's dragging through drills. You want your kid to be the star. He's also got to give me star effort during the game, or during practice rather, to see time in the game. And I deal with parents. I found it's easier to get through to the kids first, then the parents will leave you alone. If the kids like you, the parents aren't going to come bother you.
So you gave out that little Remember the Titans speech. You wanted to give me a star. You want to be a star, better give me a star effort.
That's exactly it.
What's your favorite position to coach so far?
I'm truly passionate about linemen. That's my thing. I truly believe that, if you start with the line, everything else will follow. And so I get fired up on lineman drills. That's my thing. I'll coach anything, but I truly get into it when it's lineman time.
Offensively or defensively?
If I have to pick a side, offense. And that is also the hardest side to coach at Little League level, because the kids are all, especially nowadays, kids are all about stats, and you're not going to get a stat as an O-line.
Other than the pancake block, that's pretty much it.
But that's not a recorded stat really, even until you get to really the NFL. So they want to hear their name announced for making a sack and on defense. I'm like, look, man, you have to play the hardest on offense, and it's hard. It's really hard to get that through to the kids sometimes. But luckily, I'm coaching 8th grade now, and it's getting a little easier.
You get to mold them before they get up to the high school level, where they're all about like making the touchdowns and whatnot.
Yeah, we're definitely this year. It's been turning up the intensity, because I know what they're going to deal with in high school, and it's time to start opening their eyes now before it's a total shock next year.
Is it any harder? Have you dealt with anything with the upperclassmen yet? Like any of the juniors and seniors that are there now or have been there?
As in,
have you been up to the varsity level and coached with them yet?
No, I will stay at the middle school level. That's there's good high school coaches, especially at Northwest now, that are leading the program in the right direction. I'll just keep feeding them kids.
Just feeding the machine. And you're a former player too. So how many years did you play?
I played a total of 7. It was 3 years of Little League, 4 years of high school, and so basically
mainly offensive line.
Mostly that become my passion, especially in high school, and defense just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I was the exact opposite. I always liked playing defense. I couldn't get into O-line though. That's what they tried. They tried to put me as an offensive lineman to start, and I couldn't handle it at first.
It's weird. It's hard to get into because you have to. It's almost you have. Tell my kids you have to be almost cocky when you play offensive line. You have to walk up to the line, look at that kid in front of you, and almost laugh like, I'm going to put you on your butt, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to make you look like a little girl all day long.
And that's the same mentality you had with when you played, right?
Yeah, that's the same. It's a nasty, dirty position, and you got to be a little nasty to play it.
And from the stories that you hear about like offensive linemen like actually punching dudes in the pile and whatnot, that kind of stuff was always true.
That's no comment.
There's a couple of defenders out there somewhere still looking for you, probably.
Yeah, probably.
You ever deal with like any injuries when you were playing?
I had 2 injuries the whole time. The whole 7 years I played. I had to sprain my ankle once, which is just minor, no big deal. Tape it up, stick a couple Tylenol on it, good to go. Then I had a concussion once. That was definitely a brutal thing.
How do you deal with injuries as a coach though versus how you did it as a player? You like more I don't know I'm trying to think of the word here. More compassionate towards a player now as a coach than you were to yourself when you were playing?
It depends on what it is, and to be completely honest, I have some linemen that complain about hand injuries. Their finger hurt, they broke their finger. Look, you play offensive line, you're going to break every finger in your hand, in both hands. Now, if it's an ankle or a knee or a head injury, yeah, then that's a thing worry about a lot, especially nowadays with concussions and all that stuff.
What's your opinion right now on the concussion protocol through the NFL? The whole Aaron Hernandez's issue from yesterday that they just broke, that he had the worst CTE that any doctor had ever seen before.
Yeah, that CTE stuff, it's scary sounding, and I'm not trying to say it's not that it's less evil than they talk about, but I don't think they have enough info on it yet. To me right now, all it's doing is scaring kids away and parents from letting their kids play football, because all you hear is football will basically make your kid brain damaged. That's not 100% true. The sport's violent, but we, especially as Little League coaches, are taking a lot of new stances on the way we teach things to keep it safer.
So I remember one thing they always taught us: always keep your head up when you're going through for a tackle. That still didn't stop a lot of concussions, though. It's what's a new way you guys are trying to teach kids to prevent the head injuries?
Well, see, now we're teaching. It's still head up. Keep your head up. That's always the way you're gonna help prevent a concussion. But now we're teaching to keep your head out of the tackle completely. We're tackling hips. It's basically a rugby style tackle, which, if you know anything about rugby, they don't have any pads, so they don't have nowhere near the amount of concussions that football does. I mean, there's one thing in my personal opinion is you take away some of the pads in football, you'll have less injuries.
So you're saying take away which pads though?
If you almost break it down, not completely down to the original football intro to football, when they had leather helmets and very small shoulder pads. I'm not saying go back to leather helmets because that's just crazy, but you make the shoulder pads a little smaller, maybe make the helmets less bulky. Kids won't feel, and professional athletes as well, you see it in the NFL, they don't tackle people, they run through people, because in those giant shoulder pads, in those giant helmets, they feel invincible. You start feeling a little less invincible, you're going to start thinking about proper form.
Gotcha. Now, what was one thing that you remember as a player that you're trying to try to do as a coach?
It's hard. Like, I was a totally different. I coach a lot totally different than the way I played. I was a very reserved player when I played. I had like an internal fire but it was never real visible. Now I've become more visible because I've, especially coaching younger kids, they watch me as a coach. My emotions affect theirs. If I get upset about something, they get upset about something, and I have to know how to keep myself in check. But then be excited when like if I'm mad about something, I have to bite my tongue off or whatever needs to be happen. But then when I'm excited about something, I have to get them excited. Gets them excited, and they feed off of it.
So you said before you're learning a lot from Bofish. Are you dealing with any of his issues that he had when he was like cussing all the time on the sidelines and whatnot, cussing at his players? Because he was a big guy when it came to that kind of stuff. He would just sit there and mother F this and you do your GD job. But you got to deal with the younger kids, though. He was dealing with high schoolers, so it was a little more understandable.
But that's also why I like coaching the middle school level better, because I'm not going to say I said that I won't cuss a kid out, but I mean, I don't have to censor myself as much because, to be honest, middle school kids are teaching me new cuss words. So, I mean, sometimes you got to speak their language to get them to understand and respect you.
I can only imagine you using the word fleek and that kind of stuff right in the middle of practice.
That
was such a great block. That was on fleek.
Some of the things they talk about, and I'm like, what? I was like, explain it. And you guys are, seriously?
It's like a generational gap.
You just have to shake your head and you guys are just retarded.
Probably have to edit that out. If anybody's listening right at this point and you're hearing the dingling, it's Chief. It's Matt's dog. So don't worry, it's not anything within the thing. He's just following around Tori because she's got pizza right now. So thank you for ordering pizza, Tori. All right, back to the kids though. Like, are you teaching like any classes or anything like that? Or are you just coaching at this point?
No, I don't have a bachelor's degree or anything to teach, so I have a regular 9-to-5 job essentially, and then I go and volunteer my time as a coach. And I mean, I take a lot of coaching classes to make myself better every year. So
this is like the whole thing. You're putting so much effort to this, and it's a volunteer-based position.
It's basically a hobby.
That's awesome, and just the fact that you're willing to donate so much of your time, and your main reward is
the kids' excitement getting a W on Saturdays.
Not a lot of people can say that, and I have to applaud you for that, Beach. Like, seriously, that is like one of the coolest things. You're not, like I said, you're not getting paid for it. You're just doing this on your own free time. Not a lot of people say that. Not a lot of people can do that as well.
No, it's a lot of time commitment, and my wife can testify to the fact that this time of year in the fall, I am she's basically a single woman because I'm not home.
She's a football widow.
A lot of times. There's been, with her job, there's a lot of times we don't see each other till I get home at 9:00 at night, and that's just enough time for basically me to kiss her hi, goodbye, good night, and I'm going to bed because I got to go to work in the morning.
I know all too well with that schedule. It's got to be tough. I guarantee it's got to be tough.
It's rough sometimes. It's definitely, sometimes when we don't have practices, that's when we really got to take time for ourselves and try to at least keep our relationship together.
Well, now that you got a little one on the way, what you gonna let her play?
Tori and I have had that conversation.
This is the deciding factor right here.
Yeah.
Right here. Right now. We're going to finish this on the debate right here.
We have to put it on tape. But I'm not a big fan.
For those that don't know, Tori just said that she wants Bella to play.
I'm not a big fan of her playing, and it's not because of injuries or concussions. It's the fact that just men and women are built different, and girls can play sports with guys up until basically the puberty age when guys' muscle mass starts taking over, and I don't see the point in starting a sport if you can't finish it till its highest level. And girls just can't play football with guys in high school because they're not big enough, and they'll end up getting hurt.
Tori's over here flexing as she's eating. How far along you, Tori?
34 weeks.
34 weeks, so yes, she's eating right now. Well, okay, you were talking about some guys versus girls playing. What was your opinion on like Nick Mangold's sister playing? She made it up all the way up through college and actually went to be a power lifter. She was built like a freaking house.
But there's exceptions to every rule. I mean, not everybody's built the same, but that's an exception. I mean, if you're going to be that big, freakishly big, good for you. But most women are not built that way. They're just not.
Hit the weight room early, maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Tori's pointing to herself again. This is not about you, Tori. Come on.
It's always about it.
Do you think, but honestly, do you think we'll ever see a female in the NFL? And opposite, not a kicker, like an actual female playing quarterback or wide receiver or offensive or defensive line.
No.
Some important position.
No.
You don't think
not,
so?
Not at the current state that football's in, where it's basically freakishly large humans playing a sport that are on a collision course all the time. No.
Speaking of the state that football's in, there's been a lot of talk, like, I don't know if you listen to 101 all that much. Mm-hmm. They've said here recently that they don't see the NFL lasting up until for like another 20 years. In 20 years, the NFL will be done. It won't be around anymore because of the whole issues with concussions, with all the injuries, and just how Roger Goodell is running things in the NFL.
I can see that, and I agree with that, but it goes back to they have to make changes to the sport. And like I said, if goes back, I've heard this from other sports writers that if you take away the pads, it will make the sport better. It'll go back to the way the sport was originally supposed to be played. Though all about technique, and it's not about the big hit. It's about just getting the guy to the ground.
Right. Because I remember somewhere along the line things changed, and I've seen documentaries on it. And I think it was like the Oakland Raiders of the 70s that kind of changed things with their hard hits. I don't know if you ever seen any of those documentaries on the Raiders. They had those big hulking guys that just came out of nowhere and just were doing late hits, and that kind of, I think, where kind of the game changed a little bit.
Well, and the NFL made millions of dollars probably off of selling videos of the biggest hits in the season.
Right.
And which is crazy because those are the hits that people were getting concussions from. Or more than likely. I mean, I couldn't tell you specifically, but
guys like James Harrison and Ndamukong Suh, not to call anybody out, but just some of their hits that they laid out are just outright brutal. And the late shots that they'll give, like, say, quarterbacks, it's just ridiculous.
It is, and that's, the NFL, that's why the NFL has to change the way they do things. Otherwise, they will not last 20 years.
Would you say those are the kind of guys that are kind of giving the NFL just like a bad rep right there?
I wouldn't say they're giving it maybe Roger Goodell because he's not doing anything, and the owners are not doing anything. The players are playing.
They're just out there to make money. That's the whole thing. With
the players are out there playing within the rules at the moment. That you can't fault them for playing within the rules, and they're trying to make an income just like you and I go to work every day. That's their job. They're trying to provide for their family.
Now go back to the whole thing with what with the parents and how you have to how you're learning to deal with the parents, because you said yourself you're not a people person, never been much of a people person, and dealing with the parents. What do you say to like the parents that come up and say, "Oh, I thought about it. I really don't want my kid to play," or anything along those lines, or they're really hesitant about playing? What would you say to them like right now?
The one thing I tell parents when they're on that fence, because I have talked to the parents that are like this, and I've seen some, I've been able to pull some back to my side of the fence, or sometimes they just go to the other side of the fence. You just tell them, I mean, we as coaches, the coaches I coach with, we are all USA Football certified. We are all safety certified, that we're not going to put the kid in harm if we don't feel that they're ready to progress to the straight tackling on live football. We'll still continue to practice on dummies where they're not going to get hurt. I mean, if the kid will listen to us and do what he's been taught, more than likely he won't get hurt. I mean, football's a collision sport, injuries happen, but less likely will get hurt if you do what you're taught. And that's but I also then at the same time tell a parent, it's your money, you do what you want. I can't tell you how to spend your paycheck. Just like you're not going to tell me how to spend my paycheck. So you just got to let them have it whatever way they want.
Then it goes back to dealing with the do you have any other parents like that actually do get involved though?
We do. I've got there's on my coaching staff. It's me and then one other coach that we have no kids associated with the program. I've got two other coaches that. Three other coaches that they all have kids associated with the program, and one of them is a legitimate coach, and two others are dads that are truly trying to help, and they're learning on the fly as well, and it's nice to see them come out and help us.
You see yourself becoming a full-time coach anytime soon?
Not at the moment.
No.
No, I enjoy what I do now. I mean, I don't need to get paid to do. If you truly enjoy doing it, you don't need to be paid to do it.
That's awesome. Again, I say that's incredible that you're just willing to throw out that kind of dedication to something you're only volunteering for, because so many people need instant gratification, and when I mean instant gratification, I mean money, of course. So far, you said you've been coaching for a couple of years, so your favorite moment as a coach thus far?
Favorite moment as a coach, and it's not anything big, it would be, and it happens every year. You get these new kids that they just don't get it, and it's always a different time. You could see that they got it in them, but they just don't get it yet. And then it's that minute when that light bulb in their head like flips on and it just clicks. It's because you've been working with them and just drilling it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, he finally got it. That is the coolest moment you ever see.
What about your least favorite moment, like say scariest moment?
Scariest moment? I don't know if I really have a scariest moment. I mean, every game, especially any loss is always a terrible moment. But I mean, I've had a kid just last week. He went out. A kid grabbed him by his face mask and basically made him look like a rag doll, and ended up having a neck injury. That was a little scary.
Wow.
He ended up being okay. It looked a lot worse than it was, but I mean, he was almost biting his own ear at that point. I mean,
Jesus.
It was pretty. It looked pretty brutal. It ended up being just a neck sprain, and actually he's playing this week. So,
do you feel like almost like a proud dad whenever you see some of your kids that you coached end up playing for like the varsity or junior varsity?
Yeah, I mean, these kids, like the current kids I currently coach, I mean, I feel like they're like my kids, or they're like my little brothers, because I mean, being that they're 14 years old,
and I've seen you go to the number of the home games too.
Do what?
Go to the home games too.
Yeah, and I'll go. I've been to every home game so far the Northwest had this year, and they're playing on the road this week. The reason why I'm not there is I just don't want to travel.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, we are recording on a Friday night, so I guess that's kind of like a sacrilegious type of deal. You're not at a game as a coach.
That's all right. Northwest is playing Seckman this week. They should take care of business. So.
Well, they should, but it's Northwest. Not to say anything bad, but hell, I don't remember the last time we had a winning record. At least that's my recollection.
It's been a rough go here. A few years. It's been a rough go.
A few years, more like a few decades.
Hey man, hey, don't hate.
I can't hate. I played too. I mean, 3 years playing on junior varsity and varsity defensive line mainly, but. So back to the kids for a second. The attention span, I'm sure, has got to be minimal with kids nowadays, with the whole iPhones and whatnot. Now, I sound like an old person, but still, it's got to be kind of small, knowing the fact that they're just ready to go out and do it and not want to go through practice.
Yeah, I mean, like with any level, that's why I like coaching the middle school better. The attention spans are there a little bit better than, like, say, fourth graders.
Yeah.
Fourth graders, you got to keep them constantly moving. Otherwise,
they'll go start picking daisies and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Next thing you know, they're making snow angels in the grass or whatever. And like eighth graders, I mean, they know now, they're 13, 14 years old, so they know what they're supposed to be doing at this point. If not, a little bit of a corrective yelling at them or exercise to get back on track and
channeling your inner bowfish.
Yeah.
I keep harping on that. That's just like that's like the funniest thing to me. I just remember the Lindbergh game, my senior year. Lindbergh had the same record as us, or like a worse record of us. I think we won our first 2 games. We were 2-0. They're 0-2. We were down 35-7 at halftime. And he just came in and just screaming his head off, grabbed somebody's helmet, chucked it across the room, dented one of the lockers in, and just completely flipped out for a good 5 minutes and then walked out.
Yeah, see, that's something, my halftime speeches, I guess, like that, I guess you'd call it a halftime speech. They're not generally yelling most of the time. It's after I've talked to the other coaches and we've decided how we're going to correct whatever bad play we had prior in the first half. I don't yell a whole lot unless, I guess we did have a game a couple weeks ago. The kids just played flat. They just act like they didn't want to be there. That halftime, I did a lot of yelling because they were flat. They acted like they didn't want to play. So somebody needed to light a fire under their butt and get them to play. Yeah.
Like I said, Chillin, you're in Bowfish. Do you ever talk to you about that? About his coaching techniques at halftime when his screaming techniques?
No, that's just something you kind of just observe.
You just kind of sit there and remember, all right, Bowfish said this at halftime once. Maybe I should try this time. Sometimes
you realize, though, when you're coaching is, like, why the coaches back then did what they did. Like, I remember having Coach Freeman was line coach. His first year at Northwest was my senior year, and he used to make us, the linemen, do extra running after the end of practice. We'd go run the hills. And I remember arguing with him as a captain because everybody else was mad, and I was the one that had to speak up and wanted to know why we had to do it. And he's like, because I said so. And linemen work harder than everybody else. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I was like, we shouldn't work harder than everybody else. Practice is over. Now, as a coach, I'm like, linemen do need to work harder than everybody else. They're the most vital part of the team.
Yeah, without the linemen, the quarterback's toast.
Yeah, the quarterback needs bodyguards, and that's the 5 front line.
Well, as long as you're there doing it, that's the whole thing. Northwest has got a good future as long as you're there teaching the kids at the very beginning. And again, I gotta say, this is an amazing thing, that the fact that you're doing this on your own free time, like the fact that you're willing to put in so much dedication towards something you're not getting paid for, you're not getting really much gratification for, and you're just doing this just to do this because you love it, because you love the game and you love working with the kids. Even though you say you're not a people person, there's a little bit of people person I can see starting to come out. Yeah,
it comes out. Apparently, I'm a natural people person, but I don't know. I don't see it, but okay.
Tori's teaching you a couple things, probably. But again, I just think that's completely awesome. The fact that you're willing to do this all on your own free time, and you're willing to mold these kids to be able to play a sport that you enjoy and you want them to enjoy. That's amazing to me.
Yeah. It's especially now with social media, it's getting harder and harder because you watch them do dumber and dumber things with putting. I was at a coaching clinic this winter, and they were talking. One of the coaches was talking about the what they looked for recruiting. It used to be you'd look at grades. They first had to get permission from the kid to get the grades to see their transcripts. Now they don't even have to do that. They get who they think they're going to recruit, then they Google their name. They look at their social media first, and if they have anything like that might be questionable on their social media, they scratch them from the recruit list.
Questionable as what though? Like,
questionable, like, doing dumb things on social media. Like if you're putting,
which could be a lot of things.
If you're but if you're putting drinking or drugs or just that kind of stuff on your social media, and you have parental supervision at that point, what are you going to do when they get on the college campus and when you have no parental supervision?
That's a good idea that they need to start monitoring social media. Is that something you're going to start doing here too?
That's something I do. Most of the kids that play for me, if they have social media, I'm friends with them. I'm generally a fly on the wall on their social media, but I get on there and I just, all right, what dumb put on there today? And if it was just something goofy that a 14-year-old puts on there, okay, fine. If it's something like, they're doing an Instagram story in the middle of class, when we get to practice, we're going to have a discussion.
Make them do laps.
Generally, or a roller.
Oh, the rollers. Oh my God, the worst time. Never miss practice. I only missed practice once my 3 years of playing. Never do it again. Rollers was like the worst thing.
Yeah, you'll end up throwing up and you'll never do it again.
That's one of the reasons why I skipped senior skip day in senior year. No way in hell was I going to do rollers. But as far as like following kids, say you have a kid that's a bully, being so cyberbullying, how do you handle that? Do you talk to him and try to sit him down and talk to him? Because, like I said, you're molding young minds here, and you're trying to teach kids a little bit more.
Well, that's one thing too. This year hasn't been as much, but last year I had a lot of conversations with the middle school principals because I had some discipline problems, and one of the middle school principals is a former football player, and he just he used to be a football coach and got into being a principal. Is no longer a coach anymore, but he knows that teachers only can go so far, but the coach is basically can be the executioner because kids are always scared of the coach.
Oh, yeah.
They're not scared of the mom. They're not scared of the teacher. They're not scared of the principal.
But they're scared of what coach is going to do come practice
so
time.
I'd have conversations with them, and the next thing you know, we'd go to practice, and either kid would run all practice, like not stop, or I have no problem sitting them out in the game.
So your punishment's either running or they're sitting, basically.
Well, and especially if they're one of your star players, and if you're making that sacrifice to sit them out because you have a standard that they need to live up to, it sends a message.
And you ever get any kids that talk back or anything like that?
Oh, of course. At middle school level, you always get them to talk back. You just got to remember you can't hit them.
Yeah, they're not kids. Not your kids. You can't hit them yet. No, if it was your kid, it'd be a completely different story. But I don't think you would do that.
No. Not in public.
Tori is listening to this right now, so she's taking notes herself, no doubt. And of course, she works for Children's Division down in Hillsborough, which is actually where we're recording at, down in Hillsborough. So, but back to some of the kids. It's like you said, you're molding younger minds and stuff like that, and you're trying to teach kids like better values. Tell me something you've done. One conversation you've had with a kid who's, like you said, dummies out there posting this and like posting their Instagram story all over.
Well,
class.
I had one just a couple weeks ago. One thing I always do first thing in the morning, because I don't generally check my Instagram except for generally once a day or unless I'm really bored during the day.
Yeah, I noticed you're never on there.
And when I get up, I eat my breakfast in the morning before I go to work. I'll get on there and see what kind of stories you got on there. Well, I see one of my kids. He posted that he was recording one of his buddies reading, and he thought it was funny in the middle of class. He was reading something out of a textbook out loud, and he thought it was funny. I'm like, are you kidding me?
How is that funny?
He thought because he was reading weird or something. I didn't understand it. There was the point that you're recording in the middle of class. Man. Like, look, man, we all do dumb stuff when we're 14 years old. But don't put it on things that you can get caught on.
Seriously.
I mean, I would like you not to do it, period. But if you're gonna do something stupid, don't get caught. Don't put it on social media where it's out there forever.
It goes back to the whole adage, it's not illegal unless you get caught. But
yeah, exactly.
But you got to think they've got to be a little bit smarter. I mean, Jesus Christ, their coach is watching them all over social media. They should know not to post anything bad, but they still probably do.
Because they're 14-year-old kids. 14-year-old kids are generally not real bright.
Hence the reason why you call them dummies.
I call them dum-dums. They're not dummies.
All right. Well, pizza's starting to get cold, and I think you're probably ready to eat, and I'm ready to eat.
Yeah, let's get this show on the road.
All right, Beach. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it, my brother.
No problem, man. No problem.
And maybe we'll have you on another time. Give it a couple more games, see how you're doing.
Sounds good.
And maybe we'll have Tori on as well.
Sounds good.
All right, well, there you have it. The first pod is in the books. Thanks for listening in. I think we're definitely going to have Beach back on, as you can tell, and definitely have Victoria on as well. Maybe we talk about her giving birth to Della and the experiences that she'll be going through as a new mom. Oh, yeah, and I've really got to thank her for not only letting us record there, but feeding us as well. You know, Beach texted me a little while after saying, yeah, us fat guys, we can't turn down a free meal. Make sure to follow me on Facebook at Pat B on the mic. Twitter, it's the same except ad99. Catch you next time when we got pro wrestler the Robo Ginger.